Jessica Waluka. Sorry, we just started recording. So my name is Jessica Waluka, and I'm the program manager for the Tech Talent Accelerator. I'm also the product manager at the Science Research and Innovation Office. So here are some housekeeping rules. So please, could you kindly mute your microphone and turn off your videos, as this meeting will be recorded and live streamed. Also, all questions should be raised using the Zoom chat function, and we'll be monitoring them throughout the event. I would like to start by acknowledging the land. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bounds them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and people, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. To get this started off, in the chat box, please could you kindly indicate what program you're in, as well as your program year? I'm just going to give you a couple of seconds. MBA first year. Okay, second year. Okay, thank you so much, guys. So for the next 5 minutes, I will just go through the Tech Talent Accelerator overview before I hand it over to our esteemed host and panelists to take over. So during the last 10 minutes, we'll open the floor to questions. During this time, you could use the hand raise function, and you could also turn on your mic. We should round up about 1 p.m. So the Tech Talent Accelerator is an industry design collaborative initiative between Ryerson, CompTIA, which is the largest global association for the IT technology industry, and its member companies. This accelerator program was designed to launch the next.
Jessica, you're muted.
Sorry, someone muted me. I don't know what happened. Sorry about that. Can everybody hear me?
Sure can.
Okay, thank you. So the Tech Talent Accelerator is an industry design collaborative initiative between Ryerson, CompTIA, which is the largest global association for the IT technology industry, and its member company. This accelerator program was designed to launch the next generation of industry-ready talents for the Canadian IT tech sector. So our program is divided into 2 components. So we have the ExploreTech and we have the ExperienceTech, which are both open to all disciplines here at Ryerson University. As you can see in the diagram, the ExploreTech component consists of innovation seminars and a hack tech, which is open to all graduate and undergraduate students here at Ryerson University. So we're so excited to announce that from February 22nd to March 12th, we'll be hosting our first annual hack tech in association with the Science Discovery Zone. This is going to be a fun and engaging 3 weeks long virtual hackathon filled with industry challenges, keynotes, and prizes. So for the ExperienceTech components, includes our industry create training modules, CompTIA certificate courses, job shadowing, and internship opportunities. This part of the program is only open to like 40-year undergraduate students and graduate students who will finalize all coursework and research activities by April 2021. So here is our advisory board. So we've worked closely with the following advisory members, and we've worked closely with them to design this program from scratch. And we're really excited to have one of our board members, Rita Lonker, here with us today to host this panelist discussion. So I'm just going to give a brief bio description about our host and our panelists today. So Rita Lonker is a 20-year veteran of IT, 13 of which has been with Veritas. Rita became channel chief of Veritas Canada in 2018 with responsibilities for the channel strategy, alliance, and inside sales. Veritas is a data management company providing proven, modern, and integrated technology that brings together availability, protection, and insight. Our other panelists includes Amnida Kaur. She is a female leader focused on the development of high-performing sales team to deliver impactful solutions and solve business complexities for clients. In 2010, she began her career at Pivot Park as a sales support representative, then an inside sales representative, and eventually with her experience and leadership, attribute, she was the national inside sales leader. We also have Michelle Bates, who is the Director of Product Management and Business Development at Synnex, Canada. She's a seasoned executive with 25 years of IT experience. Michelle currently serves serves on the CompTIA Executive Committee. We also have Garth Scully, who is a seasoned business leader in the IT sector, who builds businesses through revenue, profit growth, operational efficiency, and inspiring leadership. Over his 30 years career in IT, he has held leadership roles with Veritas, Cisco, and GE Capital. So without further ado, I would like to hand this over to Rita Lonka.
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate it. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Thank you so much for the introduction. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here. And I want to thank my wonderful panelists for taking the time today and providing these insights to so many people, whether you're a student looking for a role, or there might be some people on here that are actually in or changing roles or entering the industry. I got a lot of feedback on the topic today and a lot of interest. So it's great to see so many people here today. So no matter where you are in your career, it's always good to know what hiring managers are looking for in a candidate. So I'll kick it off. I've got three great panelists here, all managers of different levels and have been in the industry for a while. And so how you would start looking for a job, the first thing, all job searches begin with the submission of your resume or online application. So I'd like to start maybe with Michelle. And what suggestion do you have for these candidates to get noticed with the application?
So good afternoon, everyone. A real pleasure to be here. And I hope the insights that we provide to you will give you some knowledge and some different things that perhaps you haven't seen or heard in the past. There's actually two things that I would suggest. And the first one is, as you're building your resume, don't always just have the things that you can do. I mean, that's great and that's a part of it, but you want to show what you can do and what difference you made. So if you are, talking about, building up a new product or building up new partnerships, you want to put some numbers behind that I, successfully built and strengthened, relationships by 10%, or I increased our customer count by 15% year over year. So give the what you do and then the value that added to the organization and or to yourself. So that would be my first one. And then the second one, which is important, but with us being in a virtual world, is even more important than it has ever been. And that is about networking. So it is so important to be networking right now. And the biggest suggestion that I would have is to get on LinkedIn and make sure you have a really strong LinkedIn profile. Know where you want to go and the role that you want to get to, and go onto LinkedIn and look at the profiles of people who are already in that role. What are the things that you like at, and pull those little nuggets out to build yours, so it really tells your story. And then reach out to everybody around you, all whether it's your mentors, whether it's the people on LinkedIn that you're connected with, and let them know where you want to get to. So if they're in a conversation or happen to be in a meeting and they hear something, they're going to go, oh, I remember that Rita was looking for something like that, and you may get a phone call. So those would be my two nuggets.
Thank you, Michelle. And Ninder, what are your thoughts on how to get noticed when candidates are applying for the job?
First, I want to say thank you. Thank you for giving me this platform, and hopefully I'll be able to help people in their journey and their next steps. But aligning with what Michelle says is just really having those data points to ask to, saying if you've been successful in something, well, what was the impact of it? What was the result of it? And the other thing that I would kind of look at is looking not only at what you're applying for, but looking at if you're interested in that. Is that something aligning to what you would want to do? I know when you're early career, graduating, you just want to get a job, you got to pay your student loans, but it's so important that you go into something that you're going to remotely be interested in or want to develop your career around. And I know our early stages, it's difficult to think about how and where you want to progress your career. But if you're interested in retail, if you're interested in IT or a specific industry, I would say keep your focus there. Have a little bit of patience, because sometimes it's so important that once you get in, that wasted time of just discovering if I enjoy this or not, you're taking away some valuable growth that you could have in development, getting into a role that may not ideally pay as well as you think, but it will give you the opportunity to network and develop within. So that's something I would think that, and everybody has that inkling of what they want to get into or have that interest in. So align yourself to that. And if you have no clue, then the networking and the resource and seeing what other people do and getting that feedback, like Michelle said, like seeing what others do and see how they do it and what they enjoy about it and what they dislike about it and what it actually takes to be successful in those roles. Ask around, how do I get to be the best, or how do I grow myself and develop myself? What are the steps that you took to get there? You just have to be mindful of that and kind of develop your strategy around that.
That's great. Thank you, Emninder. Very good, good answers there. And, thinking about before you actually apply, does it align to what your goals are? That's something that I don't think a lot of people do. They're just applying for roles and, like you said, trying to pay off student debts or whatever it is. So Garth, tell me please, sir, how
Sir, you must want something.
No, I'd love an answer and some
go.
insights for the folks on the line here.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks folks for having me participate in this. I got to tell you, over my 30-year history, holy smokes, I've been doing this for a long time. One of the things that I've got the most joy out of is recruiting new individuals and watching them grow within organizations. And I'm proud to say I have a number of people over the years that are in roles where, candidly, I'd be reporting to them as my boss, which is great to see. So to build on Michelle and Minder's points, just a couple of quick additions. First of all, Minder, your comment around seeking a role in IT that you're truly passionate about, super important. If you do that, then you'll have a sales career or a technology career or a career in something, and you'll be committed to that. And in fact, you feel that in the interviewing process. Just a couple of things around, the LinkedIn piece. It's really important that anything that you have on the internet looks professional. And I would strongly suggest, make sure you do the research on LinkedIn, or just, look at some of the things on Google. As an example, if you were to Google me, you'd see that I love the cottage and I love my grandsons. And those are two very, very important things in my life. So that helps you get to get you to a point where you can talk, to an individual and make them just relax and get to a commonality. Just one other thing I would also like to bring your attention is, make sure that when you're applying online, you tailor what your resume to the actual opportunity. I often see resumes where it's not tailored to that specific role, and you can tell it was for something else. And just remember that original, the letter that gives you the short introduction, make sure it's clear and concise, and tell the company why you think you'd be a great candidate for this particular role. When I see that, I want to read on.
That's great. Thank you, Garth. Tailoring the resume, I think, is great. I don't think people take enough time maybe to do that for each one of the applications. So it's really about giving some thought to what you're applying for. Does it align? And then customize your application to that, right? Giving it some thought, I think that's going to go a long way and make you stand out to anyone reading that application. Thank you all. Now, here's a good one. So what are, outside of just role specific, right, for the job role that someone's applying for, what would you say are the top 3 qualities that you look for outside of that? So I'd like to start with Amninder, if that's okay. What are you looking for? What are those qualities that you're looking for, Amninder?
I think especially being a new grad and looking for a new opportunity, it's always nice to see the drive that they have and the ambition, and how that can be shown and displayed is the passion you have for what you're taking, what you're enrolled in, and other activities you're doing outside of, just studying and applying for new jobs. But I think seeing that ambition, seeing that thirst for knowledge and self-development. I always have a firm belief of it's not the title you're going for, it's a skill set you either have that you're bringing to the table and the skill set you want to evolve to. So look at the knowledge and the thirst for self-development. And the other thing is being resourceful, having that ability to, if you don't have the answer right now, but going out and having the ability to tap into other networks, other individuals to get you that leverage or get you that step up where you need to, getting that additional support and not being afraid to ask for help. And I think through a lot of the examples and, you know, um, I guess in your personal development and personal life, it really highlights those 3 elements.
Thank you, Amninder. Thank you, Amninder. Yeah, and putting those examples, I think, like you said, in the resume or during the interview would actually be important. Garth, what are your thoughts on that?
3, actually 4. I think you asked for 3. I'm going to give you 4, Rita. I don't know that I've ever really taken direction from you
More
in the past, so quickly. I mean, to build on Amninder's comments, I'm looking for individuals that demonstrate that they've succeeded in a training environment. And candidly, in any training environment, whether it's through school completions, degrees, diplomas, course completions and certifications, I'm looking for an established track record of ability to learn and succeed. Because obviously, if you're new in career, an organization is going to spend a tremendous amount of money training you, and we want you to succeed. The second thing I'm looking for is, to Aminder's earlier comment, is a passion to participate or succeed outside of the work environment. I really believe that when you start looking at an individual, you want to make sure that they're a very well-rounded individual. I mean, Rita's heard me say this a number of times. I'm really hot on health, family, and business in that order. So you need to demonstrate things that you can do outside of the organization, really, really important. Enthusiastic, positive, upbeat attitude, really, really important. And then just one final comment, which I'll touch on a little bit later, I'll expand on. A demonstration of commitment to an organization through tenure. I find early in career, if you're not super passionate about the role that you're going after, you may not stick with it. And if we see a track record where you've gone from job to job, sometimes that's an indication there. So that demonstration of the commitment to an organization through tenure is really, really important to me.
Yeah, all great comments. The passion actually is really important. I think you got to have passion for everything that you do in life. And if you can show that in other aspects of your life, I mean, that goes a long way. Michelle, what are your thoughts on that?
So I kind of looked at this a little bit differently because I was trying to come up with kind of the 3 things. And really, always the 3 things for me are always passion, which we've already talked about, initiative, and enthusiasm. I mean, those are the 3 because I can teach tech. I can teach you the products. I can teach you all that other stuff. I can't teach you to be passionate. I can't teach you to have desire and to care. And if you come to the table with those skills, we can teach you all the other stuff. So really, showcase that. But further than that, I always look for, and this is not so much a quality, but I always look at, is this individual running towards something or running away from something? So if I look at a resume and I look at it and go, okay, this looks really good on paper. This individual looks great on paper. I look, are they running towards the job that I have available, or are they running away from something they don't like? Because if they're running away from something that they don't like, I don't necessarily have the confidence that this is the right job for them. It may be, but if you tell me that you're not happy in your job and you just want to change, I go, I'm not so sure that you've got the passion behind the job that, that I have in front of you. So I always look for that. And then the other thing is, I want to have a conversation with somebody. I don't want, the interview process to be, I ask a question and you answer it. I want to have a conversation, because if we're going to be working together, I want to know that we can have this back and forth conversation and challenge each other and have the same passion and enthusiasm to move the business forward, whatever that business happens to be. That would be my
All
feedback.
great points. Yes, very great points. I like the running towards, not away from something. And I don't know if anyone else has experienced that as a hiring manager, Garth or Amninder, but hearing somebody in an interview say, well, I don't really like my current role. I can't stand this and I don't do this. And, so I think this is going to fit in what I do, or it's more aligned. You really have to think about what role you're applying for and how you're positioning yourself and why you're leaving another role. And if you didn't like it, think of why you really would like this one, or why this one fits more and is more aligned with your goals, rather than talking about what you didn't like about the other one, right?
Yeah, and I would say that, it's kind of jungle gym, because if you're just coming out of school and you're not really sure where you want to be or what you want to do, that's okay. Be honest about that and say, this is what I'm thinking, and I'd love to try this. But when I think of jungle gym versus ladder, a lot of people want to move up the ladder. When you're starting out your career, you want a jungle gym. You want to be kind of going sideways and kind of playing around a little, not playing around, but kind of jumping around, over a number of years to kind of go in different roles, either in the same organization or even outside, but different roles that are going to teach you different qualities and different skill sets that then you can build and add onto your resume.
Right. And even within a single role, you could take on projects, you could do different things. And that's something when you get into the role, then, it's looking at how do you get ahead? And it's really about looking for ways to showcase your strengths and develop new, skills for yourself. So love that. Yeah, that's great. So here's something directly interview type of question is, what is your top question that you would ask a candidate, and why would you ask the candidate that question? So Garth, let's start with you.
Okay, I'm going to give you the question after I set up why I want to give you that question. So, and these are some statistics that we've seen over and over again that have been shared with organizations. I'm GE, Cisco, Veritas. So first of all, 50% of the millennial workforce on average spend less than 2 years in their first job. 25% of millennials by the age of 35 have had 5 different jobs with 5 different organizations. The top reason that the millennials tend to go to other jobs is because in 50% of the cases, they felt there wasn't a perceived, or there wasn't an opportunity or perceived opportunity for growth or advancement within the organization. So I would tell you, it is absolutely critical that organizations do more articulating to individuals, what is the opportunity outside of the one you're just interviewing for. So I would tell you that one of the questions that I like to ask is, what are your goals and aspirations for the next 2 to 5 years from a business perspective? And where do you see yourself in the organization 2 to 5 years from now? Now, really tough question, but it certainly, it allows you to understand the mindset of the individual. The other thing it does do as well is, if you get a reasonable answer, a thoughtful answer, it means they've done some research about the role and what the opportunity is going to be in future. And I love when people come into an interview and they're well prepared.
Yes, very good question. I think you asked me that question when we met. You weren't interviewing me for the role, but you were still interviewing me.
Well, interesting, Rita, to that point, I've been in a number of different leadership roles where I come in and it's a rebuild. the first thing I do with all of the team members, whether they're new recruits or not, is ask them that question, because what that does is it allows me to set up an environment where you can succeed and continue to be a valuable part of the organization, right? Really, really important. And I would tell you, you know, Rita, you know this, you know, attrition in Veritas since I've joined the organization is zero. You know, voluntary attrition. We just don't see people leaving because we've set the paths for them, whether it's early in career, which we have, or later in career, like Rita.
Not that late. Michelle, we'll move on to you. I'm not that late in my career. So what would be your top question that you'd ask a candidate and why?
So before I tell you the question, I'm going to preface why I ask this question. So my goal in an interview is always to have and help make the individual as comfortable as possible. Everybody's nervous going into an interview. And the more that we can make that individual comfortable, the more you get to see the real them. If somebody's really nervous and you know, you're trying to be intimidating to them, or they feel intimidated or not comfortable, you're not seeing the true person, you know, behind that face. So I try to get them as comfortable as possible. And then, you know, as we continue through the interview, you can see them kind of relaxing and you really see the true individual coming out. But then I do always ask the question, what is your biggest weakness? And I do that for two reasons. Number one, it's an uncomfortable question. And I want to see how they act to that discomfort. And I want, like, we all have weaknesses. Nobody is perfect. And so if somebody says to me, you know what, I don't really have any weaknesses, I go, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. We all have them. But really what I'm looking for is, you know, whatever that weakness happens to be, what are you doing about it? So for instance, if your weakness is, you know, I'm a procrastinator. Okay, that, you know, as a leader or a boss, I'm kind of going, okay, that's not a good thing. But I'm a procrastinator, but what I do with that is if I was being interviewed and somebody asked me that question, my number one thing was I'm a procrastinator, but I read a lot of books. I set up my day. There's a lot of things that I do to make sure that I get everything that I need to get done in a time frame. So I've recognized that in myself, and I've put certain things in play, and I make sure that I do them on a regular basis. And now, you know, that weakness is you know, pretty much gone. So it's what are you doing with that weakness to help you get better at that?
Yeah, that's great. So you can always identify a problem area, but also identify a solution or something you're doing to rectify that and
Exactly.
to move past it. Very good. I like that. And Ninder, so what is your favorite question to ask a candidate, and tell me why?
So I really like to understand the why of things and how people got to where they are. And one of the things, and so just I've been predominantly in sales, and it's always about overcoming obstacles and, you know, meeting your goals and targets. So one of the questions I really like asking candidates is what has been an obstacle in your life, and what was your lesson learned? And what I'm really trying to get at is, what did you learn from it, and how are you doing something differently now to not get the same outcome or to get better results? And that also gives me an indication of how they would be in a day-to-day sales environment, because you're always going to be faced with you know, you didn't get this PO, or you lost a deal here and you lost a relationship here. So it's just, how do you navigate through some challenging times in your life, and how do you overcome them, and what were the lessons learned and what were the lessons shared?
Yeah, all great. It's funny, it ties back to, you know, the passion for learning and for building your knowledge and to adapt, right? I mean, this year has been wild. So, you know, one of the big words is resiliency, adaptability is another one, right? So all of those are life skills that we use, and we can leverage them in, you know, the job interviews, in applications, and in life everywhere. So yeah, thank you for that. That's great.
And Rita, can I just add,
Yes,
one
of
more
course.
thing? I think it's very important to know, and this is coming off of Michelle's point, you're not being interrogated. You're also interviewing the interviewee. It's so important to come in to be at, an even keel to kind of, you're also learning and also assessing for yourself, this is where you want to be. So don't ever come at it with, I'm in like this whole exam test mode right now and I'm being interrogated. It's not. It's a two-way street, right? And both sides trying to see if this is the right fit.
Yeah, to that
Sorry.
point, Aminder, just a quick comment. If in fact you get to the interview stage, something in that resume has caught the eye of the organization and they're interested in what you have to say and what you could contribute to the organization. So remember that. So you're not going in from a position of weakness. You're probably going in from a position of strength. You don't want to be overconfident, but you certainly want to show confidence because they're speaking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would
Very
also say, it like as Aminder said as well, it is a two-way conversation. And as much as they're asking you questions to see whether you'll fit, you want to know, do I like this individual? Could I work with this individual? Is the culture of the organization a culture that is important to me and I believe in? And so, it's more than just sitting in that interview with that person or those people. It's the organization, it's the role, it's the people around you. And so it's okay to even ask the questions about, tell me about your culture. What do you like about the culture of this organization? Or I see on your website, it says this about culture. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, those are all very good points. Actually, preparing some questions beforehand because you've done the research about the organization, about the role, and coming with prepared questions will go a long way, definitely with whoever's interviewing you. Certainly. Thank you for that. So, you said culture, understanding the people that you work with, how you get along with them. It's a little bit different these days in how we interact with people and how you get along with them. So going into today's virtual world and how we address that, it's not just virtual at this point. I mean, some roles were virtual before, especially in the tech industry, but moving forward, we see a lot more globalization of roles and just virtual roles, virtual teams. So in this virtual world, how does a candidate make an impression in an interview? Because you're also doing a lot of interviews online right now, and then integrating people, new hires into teams virtually. So Aminder, let's start with you. And what are your thoughts on, how does a candidate make an impression or in an interview in this virtual time?
Well, the first thing I will say as a person that's interviewing a candidate, I want to make sure that in a virtual environment that I recognize and acknowledge there could be kids jumping around, there could be cats jumping on tables. So just putting that out there that, hey, like this is the conversation. This is just as much for me to understand if you're the right fit. And like I said before, if you feel like the organization's the right fit. But in a virtual environment, whether being in person or over a Zoom call, it's how prepared you are. And that can come across through the video, through the camera, or in person. And ultimately is be prepared for the interview and have that understanding of, what is the role going to entail? What is the role asking for? And am I able to do this job? So to me, it hasn't been really differing from a virtual to in person, because at the end of the day, it's how do you come to me with those responses and that engagement level. And the other thing I will add is, being prepared also means if I'm asking you who you are and why you, is have an elevator pitch prepared. And I think I can't tell you how many times an individual's been stumped to be like, who are you? Tell me about yourself. And that's the one question they'll like struggle with. You know yourself the best. That's the first step you come prepared for.
Yeah, I like that. Tell me about yourself. People are like, what? Me? Who? Me? Um, yeah, just exactly. Michelle, what are your thoughts on the virtual world that we live in, and how does a candidate make an impression on you in an interview? being on a
So
Zoom or?
yeah, I've always had a mantra in my life, which is get up, dress up, show up. And my parents taught us that very young. And it doesn't necessarily mean, dressing up, and it doesn't mean really what it says, but it's about being there and being ready and being the best possible you, regardless of the geography, whether you're standing in front of somebody in an office or sitting behind a computer. If you're going to be doing an interview on a computer, you want to make sure that you're up that, on that day, that you're prepared, you've done your homework, you've got all the, the different answers in your head, or the things that you write down, the 5 or 6 different things that you really want to make sure that this interviewer knows about you. And you have to tie those elements in, throughout the questions that they're asking you. I look to make sure that they've done their homework. Do they know about my organization? If an interviewee asks me, can you tell me about your company? What products do you sell? I go, like, to me, that's a red flag, because you obviously haven't gone to my website. You haven't looked to see what the organization is. So having a different question about, I see on your website it says this. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? So you're showing me that you've gone on there and that you've done some homework. But Amninder, you said something interesting, recognizing that that we are virtual and that there are kids screaming and dogs barking and that. When I do interviews, when I get to my second last point, so we've already interviewed 2 or 3 times, a particular individual or a couple of individuals. I always ask for a 15-minute presentation on what they feel are the elements and the most important aspects of the position, and why them. Why would they be the best fit for that job? And I was hiring, this was just back in November, I was hiring for a particular role, and I had my final 2 candidates, and they were doing their presentations. And this young lady was presenting, and she came all dressed up. She actually stood up when she was presenting, and she was in her home, obviously. And I knew she was married and had a small child. And like the last minute or so of the presentation, her daughter started screaming. She never missed a beat. She continued, she presented, she did amazing. And we finished the interview, and I said to her at the very end, I want you to know that I did hear your daughter screaming at the end of the interview, and I could see her face going, and I go, no, that's okay. You never missed a beat. That's the reality of today. That's the reality of where we are. And we don't all have, 3 floors in our house that you can, separate. We've got people that are, 3 or 4 people living in a house on the same floor, and everybody has dogs and kids. And that's the reality of our world. But you handled it like a pro. You did an amazing job. You never missed a beat. And she was like, oh, thank goodness. Because she says, inside my head, I was like, no, why did she start crying? And her husband was there with the child, but she had fallen. And anyway, I ended up hiring her. And she said that, when I said that, it made her feel so much better. And she said that was when I really recognized that, yeah, this is our world today. So, while we try and make sure that there are no noises, and I'm sitting here going, thinking from, my dog, please don't bark when I'm on this call. But again, that's our reality. So.
Yes,
Yeah.
Very good points, Michelle.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But be excited, be inquisitive, like really be excited about the job, and show them that, you know what, I think your organization is amazing, and I would love to be a part of it, and I really hope that I get the chance. So just be passionate and exciting when you're at the end of your interview with the person.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for that, Michelle. Asking questions, the funny thing is that you're on a Zoom call, so you could actually have Post-its, you could have notes everywhere, so you could be extra prepared with the content that you want to present to the interview. There you go. We all do it. I've got it on my screen too, right? So you have the extra advantage right there,
Exactly.
So use it to your advantage for sure. And I love and someone's commented here, but being empathetic to the candidate, and we're all at home right now. We're all dealing with it. So it makes a lot of sense you have to extend that that understanding to the candidates, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Garth, I know you've seen my cat, my children, you've had conversations with my kids. They've made cameos in all of my calls. Now they're at school, but yeah, tell me.
I know the names of Rita's children. I can speak to them on Zoom. They speak back to me. I mean, to that point, Rita, I think it's really important that when you get into an interview that if you expect there could be an interruption for whatever reason, let the interviewer know. We all have very diverse backgrounds, and there are different things that we're responsible for that we need to allow for, right? Because it's part of every day. So to build on Michelle and Minder, just a couple of other points. Smile, be positive. I mean, it's amazing. A smile is infectious. Do a dry run with the technology before you actually get on the call. Make sure it works properly, right? And if you can use the native technology, as an example, if I were to reach out to Minder and I wanted a job selling with Amazon, I'd use Amazon Chime as the video technology, not Microsoft Teams. So again, the difference between excellence and mediocrity is attention to detail, and it's those little things that you do that we'll notice. No outside interruptions other than the ones that you said could happen. I really love at the end of the interview, because I'm a sales guy, have been for many, many years, is when the individual closes for something, particularly if it's sales related. Close for the next conversation. Close for something, because what it demonstrates is your ability to actually ask for something, given you've earned it through the interviewing process. I would say just one last thing. If through social media you can find a commonality with the interviewer, finding that common interest early on, or that common acquaintance, often leads to a more relaxed interview, and it's a great way to start the interview out. And then last but not least, create a simple background that you can speak passionately to, if you have the chance, right? We were talking earlier about some of the virtual backgrounds. I mean, I use a business background for this, but I have a background that shows, Rita, you know this one very, very well. It's the dock that I can see outside of the windows of my cottage, which I'm super passionate about, right? And it gets into lots of conversations, right? So, yeah.
Love that.
I call it's the COVID-19 Zoom phenomena. We need to get good at it, because I think we're going to use it a lot more, even when we get back to normal in future.
Definitely. I think a lot of organizations are taking advantage of a little bit less travel for their employees and using Zoom for meetings that you don't really need to attend in person. So we did get a question here. So closing, you said, closing closing off the interview with an ask, right? Mm-hmm. Closing, it's whether you're in sales or not, folks, it's always important to have an ask at the end. And in sales, we call it closing, right? So, but someone's asked here, is it preferred to send a thank you note for the interview, like a thank you note, an interview, an email afterwards? So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And in that thank you, like a very quick summary of something that really struck out as being special in the conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, personalize it. I think that's really important. It means you were listening, and it means you're interested.
Yep. Great suggestion.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Good. And then someone here has asked, actually, can we get some tips for digital interviews that you have to record yourself? So it's not face-to-face, so it's not a conversation, but it's a recording. I haven't experienced one of those, so I don't know.
It's the first one for me.
First one for you too. So if you were watching a video of someone, we watch on-demand trainings all the time, but watching something, what are your thoughts?
I would say that, in any presentation, have your top three. Like, what are you trying to relay? And really have concise answers to that. So I'm assuming that you'd probably get a preset number of questions, and be able to add the response and what's the value. So going back to what was even on your resume, so what was the outcome or the results you were able to achieve? And this is interesting. But I guess I have to start thinking this is something new for me too. So
I mean, Michelle, you get presentation, you have people do presentations, right? So you could maybe change that. There's an idea, change it to a pre-recorded presentation because you've already done some live interviews. So what are your thoughts on doing that?
You know, again, I think all the elements that we talked about are still in play. I mean, you are just, instead of being in front of somebody, you've got somebody that's going to videotape you, but you still want to be dressed for success. You want to kind of get up, dress up, show up. You want to have, you know, all your best things that you want to make sure that they have, you know, the answers and they know about you. And so, and you know, as Garth said, smile. So really be passionate and enthusiastic and do your homework. And I think this, you know, it's exactly the same. The one thing I would say not to do is, you know, if you do have your notes, don't have them over, you know, over on the side. So you're always kind of looking over here and looking back. You know, have something either memorize it or have something in front of you so it looks like you're looking at the camera and that you're looking at the individual. And then, you know, lastly, I would just say at the very end, just say thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity, and just again, just to have that passion.
Yeah,
But
there's actually a prompt app. So you can download a teleprompter app, guys, on your phone. Don't hesitate. Look for those types of things.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. Thank you. Another question here. If you have any questions, you can also raise your hand to ask in person. Otherwise, please feel free to put them in the chat. There's another one. When asked, tell me about yourself, can we also include interests outside of employment and studies, or do hiring managers just want to hear your work history?
Oh,
Garth?
absolutely. You know, demonstrating that you have a good balance between your work and personal life, I think is really, really important. I would tell you, a happy employee is one that has a good balance. So if they demonstrate and are able to communicate that, I think that's excellent. And you know what? If you're super passionate about something, people will feel that. I mean, we keep coming back to that word passionate. You know, Rita, you know, I talk about our cottage all the time. I talk about my grandsons all the time. You know what? Those passions are really, really important. And, you know, I'm glad I have them. I love Veritas, but I'm glad I have those passions outside of work.
Of course, of course. So there is another question here. So the meaning behind closing or an ask, are you able to describe those kinds, what those kinds of questions look like? So when we say we're closing, ask for a follow-up, ask how did I do? Ask what are the next steps in this interview process? Ask how many candidates do you have left? When can I expect to hear from you? Any other questions like that?
When are you planning to fulfill the role? What is your hire date looking like? If you were to, you know, however many candidates there are, if you were to place me, where would you place me in that? Like,
Great
again,
question.
again,
Great question.
how did I do? Or, you know, am I missing something for the role? Because even if you're not the successful candidate, I always say follow up with the interviewer afterwards to say, please help me understand why I wasn't the successful candidate, because I want to make sure that if I'm missing an element, that I can go and do my homework, or I can learn something, or I can make sure that I really call this out the next time.
Yeah. What
Right,
could I
that
have done
follow-up.
better? What could I have done better?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going into a role, we're recruiting a person into a role where they're going to be in a learning environment. If they ask that question regularly and they take the feedback, that's huge. It really is.
Yeah, and be a turtle. Have a hard shell. Really, you know, take that feedback. Don't look at it like somebody's, you know, giving you, you know, something that you're not a good person. Like, really take that because you're asking them the question. So be open to say, okay, you know what, I should have dressed more professionally, or I should have, you know, called this out, and look at it as a learning opportunity, not as a put down to yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great point.
I think I would add is, you know, if you might not be the right fit for that role, but ask, am I a right fit for another role in the organization? because if you truly feel passionate about the organization and you want to work for them, well, maybe that interviewer can redirect you to another manager. And I think that's always a great element to network and find another new opportunity.
Definitely, because that might not be the right fit for you, but if you give them the opportunity to understand that your passion to work for that organization, that this is really the culture that you want to be a part of, then maybe they will find something else for you. I like that. That's great. Ninder, you got a compliment on the chat, so you can take a look at that. You were amazing, she says.
Yes, she
You're
is.
team.
Oh, I
So
appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Anuja.
I can't see the hands up. Where is that? I don't know, Jessica, you're muted. So are there any hands up that somebody needs? to ask a
Hi,
question?
there's actually one hand up right now from Parminder in chat. She can feel free to unmute her mic and ask your question if she wants.
Okay. Parminder, unmute yourself.
Yes, I have unmuted myself. Can you guys hear me now?
We can't hear you. If you want to turn up your volume, maybe.
Can you guys hear me now? No?
A little bit. I might have to repeat your question if you can ask. Go ahead, Parminder. No.
Yeah,
No,
she's
we-
unmuted, but I don't hear anything either.
Yeah, we can't hear anything. If you wanted to put something in the chat, then please do. Unfortunately, we can't hear you.
The other thing that, while we're waiting for her to put the question in, the other thing that I would highly suggest that I didn't bring up in any of the answers today is make sure that you have some mentors. A lot of people have one mentor, and that's great, but have somebody inside your organization if you're already working or your but have people like look for things or skills in people. Like if you find somebody that's a really great presenter and boy, I wish I could present like that. Ask that individual if they could be a mentor to you for that skill set, because when you ask somebody that's a very good feeling to an individual that they think that you're great, and you can give them tips on that. And then and I personally have somebody, finance is not my background, but I got to be good at it. So I have a finance mentor inside my previous organization, and I have one outside of the organization. So I have a couple of people that I can go and ask different questions to. So you don't have to just have one, you can have a number of them for different elements or different aspects of things that you're trying to get better at.
Great
One
point.
of the best advice I got was actually from Rita. Have your own board of directors. And your own board of directors, you go to them for specific needs and, just to have a soundboard to get to where you want to get to. So thank you for that, Rita.
Oh, my pleasure. Definitely. So they're like mentors or people that you go to, those trusted people in your circle that, you can always ask, whether it's a sister, a brother, an old boss, a current boss, manager, a teacher, anyone like that. You kind of build your list of who are those people that I trust and that I would go to for some kind of advice. And so you can call them your board of directors, your circle, your tribe, however it is. Thanks, Emninder. Okay, I have the question from Parminder real quick. I have an educational background that doesn't align with my experience, as have a master in nanoscience and experience in as a BDR at Bell. So I'm assuming that's business development. So interviewers sometimes think that why I want a sales position, though I have shown progress and growth with Bell over 5 years. I started as a sales rep, got promoted to 4 different positions in 5 years. How do I overcome that question? So they don't understand why you want to go into sales. Hey,
So Rita, just to that point, I got to tell you, organizations need to do a better job of tracking new talent pools. And in fact, if you've got an experience in one area, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to be good in another area. And I think you're going to find organizations, and my experience with Bell has been, they look at those experiences, build on the positives. The fact that you were promoted to 4 different positions in 5 years, clearly you've demonstrated the ability to perform in different areas of the organization. So don't underestimate organizations' wants to look at new talent pools to do different things in the organization.
Yeah, it could be that one interviewer that you came across, maybe try different ways or explain why you're passionate about being sales and how those skills can be transferred in understanding what customer needs are. So we're at the hour, actually. Jessica,
Yes.
this has been fantastic. Thank you to the panelists. You guys were great. I hope everyone found some good value and some insights into what they talked about today. Thank you everyone for coming. Jessica, there's going to be a draw for a prize sponsored by Veritas. And if anyone has any questions or wants more information, please don't hesitate to contact the tech talent at ryerson.ca email. We'll have this recorded and posted. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Rita. Thank you so much. Wow, this is really insightful. Thank you so much to our hosts. Thank you so much to our panelists. The students had a lot of questions, as you could see. Thank you so much. In regards to what Rita said, we do have 2 $25 Uber Eats gift cards to give out. So drum rolls, please. The winners for the 2 $25 Uber Eats gift cards are Mohammed, Masood, and Katrina Klaspecki. So I'm going to connect it to you. Yeah, congratulations, guys. I'm going to connect it to you within 2 days to give you details of the Uber Eats gift card. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. If you have any questions, please send an email to the techtalent@ryerson.ca and we'll respond to you within 2 business days. Thank you so much again. I'm going to stop recording and thank you so much, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, folks.
Have a great day.
Participating. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.